What kind of choreography leaves a veteran talk show host who has seen thousands of musical performances over his nearly two-decade career visibly shocked, struggling to process what he's watching, and ultimately unable to form coherent sentences during the post-performance interview segment? Last night's episode of The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon was already one of the most highly anticipated broadcasts of the year, with NBC announcing several days in advance that all 7 members of BTS would appear together for the first time in over 18 months following their various solo projects, military service completions, and individual career developments. The network expected massive viewership and had prepared accordingly with extended runtime, additional camera positions, and promotional campaigns across multiple platforms that generated over 400 million advance impressions before the episode even aired. What nobody expected, including apparently Jimmy Fallon himself despite his production team's advanced coordination with BTS's management about performance plans, was that the group would unveil completely new choreography featuring movements so unexpected, technically demanding, and visually striking that they have now generated over 6.8 billion social media impressions across global platforms in less than 48 hours and have professional dancers, choreographers, and movement specialists all asking the same question. How is what we just watched even physically possible? But here's the moment that has absolutely broken the internet and has Jimmy Fallon's reaction becoming almost as viral as the performance itself. Approximately 2 minutes and 37 seconds into BTS's performance of what sources report was a brand new unreleased song featuring the reunion of all 7 members, the choreography transitioned into a sequence that multiple professional dancers have described as defying conventional understanding of human biomechanics and spatial coordination. The specific movement that triggered Jimmy Fallon's visible shock involved all 7 members executing what appears to be a simultaneous rotation and level change that creates an optical illusion effect where the group seems to move as a single organism, rather than as 7 individual dancers, followed immediately by a formation shift so rapid and precise that multiple viewers watching the broadcast live initially thought there was a video editing glitch or special effect rather than believing they were witnessing actual human movement executed in real time. Multiple professional choreographers who have analyzed the footage frame by frame report being unable to fully decode how the transition was executed with such speed and precision, with one internationally renowned dance expert stating, "I've worked in professional dance for 32 years and I genuinely cannot figure out the mechanics of what they just did. The timing, the spatial awareness, the physical coordination required to execute that sequence is beyond what I thought was possible for any dance group regardless of skill level." Jimmy Fallon's face during this crucial moment has been captured in crystal clear high definition from multiple camera angles, and has already spawned thousands of memes, reaction videos, and analytical breakdowns because his expression communicates pure unfiltered shock that cannot be faked or performed, the look of someone whose understanding of what's possible has just been fundamentally challenged. The sequence of expressions visible across approximately 8 seconds of footage shows him transitioning from casual enjoyment and head-nodding appreciation that would be typical for watching a professional performance, to visible surprise with eyebrows raising and mouth opening slightly, to what can only be described as complete astonishment with his jaw literally dropping open and his hands coming up in an unconscious gesture that body language experts describe as the physical manifestation of cognitive dissonance when what you're seeing contradicts what your brain believes should be possible. Multiple viewers have commented that Fallon's reaction made them rewatch the performance specifically to understand what could have provoked such an extreme response, essentially using his shock as a guide to recognizing that something extraordinary had occurred that they might have otherwise not fully appreciated. The performance itself was the centerpiece of BTS's appearance on the show, following a brief initial interview segment where all 7 members discussed their individual projects. During the hiatus period, their excitement about reuniting and performing together again, and their gratitude to fans who supported them throughout the separation. The decision to perform a completely new unreleased song, rather than one of their established hits, was itself noteworthy and represented a significant gift to the audience watching live, essentially providing exclusive first look at new material that would likely become available to the general public only days or weeks later. Multiple entertainment industry analysts note that major artists rarely premiere completely new material on talk shows, preferring to use those platforms to promote already released songs that audiences know and can immediately purchase or stream, making BTS's choice to debut new content on The Tonight Show a strategic decision that demonstrates both their confidence in the material and their appreciation for the platform and audience. The song itself has been described by the limited number of people who have heard it as representing a musical evolution for the group, combining elements of their established hip-hop and pop foundations with unexpected genre influences, including what sounds like traditional Korean musical elements, electronic dance music production techniques, and possibly jazz or R&B harmonic structures that create sonic complexity, matching the visual complexity of the choreography. Multiple music critics who watched the performance have noted that the song's structure includes several surprising tempo changes and rhythmic shifts that require choreography to adapt fluidly across different musical feels and energies, adding additional difficulty to already demanding movement vocabulary. One music industry professional stated, "What makes this performance even more impressive is that they're not just executing difficult choreography, they're executing difficult choreography that has to adapt to a song structure that isn't straightforward or predictable, requiring them to maintain perfect synchronization while navigating musical transitions that would trip up less skilled performers." The choreographic elements that have dancers and movement specialists so captivated and confused include several specific sequences that appear to violate conventional understanding of what's possible within the physical and temporal constraints of live performance. The opening formation shows all 7 members positioned in a geometric pattern that multiple observers have identified as mathematically precise, with spacing and angles that create visual symmetry, while also allowing for the complex traffic patterns and position exchanges that occur throughout the piece. Multiple choreographers note that designing formations that look good aesthetically while also being functionally practical for dancers to move through without collisions requires sophisticated spatial planning that becomes exponentially more difficult as the number of dancers increases, making the clean precision of BTS's 7-person formation work particularly impressive. The synchronization throughout the performance has been analyzed using frame-by-frame video breakdown and timing measurement tools, with multiple dance analysts reporting that the group maintains coordination to within fractions of a second across all 7 members throughout sequences lasting 30 to 40 seconds of continuous complex movement. One dance researcher who specializes in group synchronization stated, "The level of timing precision visible in this performance approaches what we see in professional dance companies whose members train together daily for years, which makes it even more remarkable given that BTS members have been pursuing individual projects and haven't been performing together regularly for over a year. The muscle memory and intuitive coordination they've maintained despite time apart speaks to the depth of their training foundation and their innate abilities as performers." The specific sequence that appears to have most shocked Jimmy Fallon, and that has generated the most intense analytical attention, involves what several choreographers have identified as a kaleidoscope rotation, where all 7 members rotate around a central axis while simultaneously changing levels from standing to crouching to floor positions, creating a visual effect where the formation appears to collapse inward and then explode outward in a movement that takes approximately 2.3 seconds to complete based on careful timing analysis. Multiple professional dancers who have attempted to recreate this sequence report that coordinating the rotation speed with the level changes while maintaining spatial awareness of 6 other bodies in close proximity is extraordinarily difficult even at slower speeds, making the pace at which BTS executes it seem almost impossible. One professional choreographer stated, "I've been trying to break down that rotation sequence with my company for the past 12 hours and we cannot make it work. Either we maintain the rotation speed but lose the clean level changes, or we execute the levels cleanly but the rotation becomes too slow and loses the visual impact. I genuinely do not understand how they're doing both simultaneously at that speed." The formation transition that occurs immediately after the rotation sequence has been identified by multiple viewers as the moment where they thought something was wrong with the broadcast, because the speed of the transition seems inconsistent with human movement capabilities. All 7 members shift from the compressed formation at the end of the rotation into a wide horizontal line spanning nearly the full width of the stage in what multiple timing analyses suggest takes between 0.8 and 1.1 seconds. Multiple physicists and biomechanics experts who have reviewed the footage note that covering that much distance that quickly while maintaining controlled movement, rather than simply running or stumbling, requires acceleration and deceleration that approaches the limits of human muscular capability, particularly while transitioning from low floor positions to standing height simultaneously. One sports biomechanics researcher stated, "The force generation required to accelerate from stationary crouching position to moving at the speed necessary to cover that distance in 1 second, while also raising center of mass from floor level to standing height, is comparable to what we see in elite sprinters or jumpers." The fact that all 7 performers execute this simultaneously with identical timing, and then immediately transition into precise choreography, rather than needing time to recover, suggests physical conditioning and movement efficiency at truly exceptional levels. The question of how much rehearsal and preparation time would be required to achieve the performance level visible in The Tonight Show appearance has multiple choreographers offering estimates that range from hundreds of hours minimum to possibly thousands of hours, depending on whether the choreography was created collaboratively or learned from an outside choreographer.